Welcome back. My name's Adrian. Today I've got a fantastic Beagle stained glass project for you, and this is the week 2 of the August stained glass kit. As you know, in the week 1 we did the acorns, and now for the week 2 here we are doing a Beagle pattern. So I hope that you like beagles. I sure do, and so we are going to go ahead and get started here, of course, with the glass cutting. Now we do have several glasses here that we're going to be using. We've got the kind of tannish glass, streaky, dark brown, and we've got this kind of white gray streaky. So these are the 3 we're going to be using. We have not used this one yet. We will be using that with our butterfly. I think that's the week 4 pattern. But for right now, we are going to get started with this. Now I have marked the pattern here. I'm going to do this one as dark brown, this piece. This one is brown, you know, these up here, I got all these marked in W for the whites. So we're going to see kind of how all that goes. Now these are directional, so I'm going to want to also go ahead and mark which sort of way I want for all of this texture to kind of be flowing here. And we're going to try to get everything just the way we want it. And Bobby, how's it going today? Everything going all right for you? Thank you for joining. And I did see, I think you commented on the other live stream. I did misspell that. I meant to say acorn, not acron. You know how that goes. Okay, now for these, for the Beagle, you're going to want to pick the lighter areas as much as you can. So I'm going to kind of pick up here, and it's just going to give us a little bit of visual interest if we have a little bit of that gray streaky in there, so it's not the end of the world if you do have that. We are going to want to try to keep it to the whitish areas as much as we can. And by all means, if you have some other glass, you could try that out. And in this case, I actually have this sticker here. I'm going to get that peeled up. All right, get this all peeled up. That way we can cut down where we want. All right. Got all of our white pieces pretty much selected where we want them. And now we can move on to this dark brown glass, since we've got that one next up. Hey, Mary, thanks for joining us. Good afternoon to you, too. So this one, we're going to want it in a dark brown area. I've got a good spot right here. And then, oops, it looks like I missed a white piece right here. Put it right there. That'll be a good spot. And we've got just the brown pieces left, kind of the lighter tannish glass. So I'm going to kind of pick this darker area right here of my piece. And I want to try to pick some of those amber tones as much as I can. Alternatively, you could probably also pick some of the lighter areas of this one. That might be a little bit of a truer kind of look. And we might even try that. I don't know. I might have a little bit too many dark areas in mind to do that. So I think we are going to go ahead and stick with this one. This one you want to get the darker areas that you can. So I'm going to pick this spot right here. That's got some good kind of darker amber areas that we can use. All right, so we got all of our glass placed onto the pieces here. And we are going to go ahead and get to separating all these pieces. And then we can start cutting them all down. Now I like to use the pencil grip cutter here. So we'll go ahead and get that all cut. And I'm trying to cut it so that I use as little as possible. And I have some left over for future projects. So after you make the cuts, you can do a couple taps from the backside, and that will pretty much separate that glass through the score line. And I've seen some people, they'll kind of turn the glass upside down, and you can kind of try to tap where you did the score. I find it to be a little bit hard to keep track of exactly where that score line is. It does start to run through, and you'll start to see it that way. So that's one way you can kind of do that. Oops. And we did break one right through one of our pieces, so we'll have to recut that spot. Not a big deal. I'll cut it right here. See if I can kind of get a little sliver out of there. Oops. Drop that one right off the table. Have to recut this one more time. I'll cut it right here on this spot. All right, we got it. So now we are ready to move on to the scoring of all these pieces. Or actually, before we do that, we are going to want to separate these so we don't accidentally break into an adjoining piece. So I'm going to do all the little scores for that, and then we'll go through and tap them through. All right, so we are going to go ahead and continue on. And if you do have any questions, just be sure to leave them in the comments here. I'll be sure to answer that. So we'll break everything loose here. And if you can, I like to pair up one of these scores with one of the actual pieces, or one of the edges of the pieces, and then you'll kind of save yourself a little bit of time that way. And we're going to go through and cut these down. All right, so now all of our pieces are separated, and we are going to go through and cut we're going to do the scoring for each piece, and then we're going to separate everything. So the reason why I like to do all the scoring first is because it starts to make a bit of a mess on your table when you break the glass, and you have to be cleaning it, scoring it, cleaning it, scoring it. So it's a little bit easier if you go ahead and do it all in these batches. And another thing is you can kind of practice your scoring. Now, by all means, if your hand starts to feel a little bit fatigued, you can always go back and, you know, do some breaking, and then, you know, you can return back to the scoring, because it can be a little bit fatiguing on your hands in the beginning. And Bobby asks, how is your wife doing with learning to make gloss? Yeah, it went pretty well. I'm just kind of slowly but surely editing that video, making it, you know, something I can post. And then I'm going to get that posted. It'll be kind of a fun video to release. But yeah, I have gotten a few questions on that video that we're doing, that we kind of already recorded together. It's been a few weeks since we recorded it, but you know, it just takes time sometimes to get all that stuff packed up nicely into something that I want to put on the internet. You know what I mean? So it's a little bit of a tricky deal there. But yeah, we're gonna get all that ready and hopefully get that sent out. Hopefully before the end of August, I should say. So that's kind of my goal here. Get that piece out by the end of August. Now this piece right here, it's kind of very thin, and it might be a little bit tricky to get this piece to do in one piece like I've got it drawn up here. We're going to give it a shot. It might take a few tries till we get it. So again, just going to continue on here, getting everything scored up. And when you do a nice consistent pressure, sometimes you hear a little scratchy sound. And on this whitish gloss, you definitely are hearing that quite a lot. And even with just the scoring, we're getting a little bit of debris here. I'm going to just do a little quick sweep. Try to keep that debris out of my hands as much as I can. It's not always the easiest thing to do, but it's worth a shot. And we're going to do, this is kind of a deep curve. We're going to break that apart first before we break this part, because it's going to get really weak right here. It's going to get very weak right there. So we're going to want to make sure to give it the best chance we can. So this one, it's got some tricky pieces here. I don't think this is the best beginner project. It's got quite a few tricky pieces. All right. Just using this little template as a guide for the cutter. Helps out quite a bit. And if you don't get it perfect the first try, that's okay. We're going to be cleaning everything up on the grinder after we get it all broken apart. Alrighty. Make a little bit more of a clean area here. Alrighty. So now we've got all of our pieces scored. So I'm going to go ahead and, well, we're actually ready to just get started with breaking these apart. So I'm going to take some Grosier's and just putting it right on the edge of that score and just trying to ping all these little pieces off here. And once we've got it looking pretty good like this, it's ready to grind. We're going to set it aside. And we're going to put all of our glass debris kind of in a pile right here, so it'll be ready to just sweep into the trash. And if you like to do mosaics, you could do that here. We don't do too many mosaics, so I don't really save a lot of these little tiny pieces. But certainly you could if that was something that you enjoyed doing. Got our second piece here. So far, so good. You know how it is breaking these glasses apart. Sometimes you get a little run in the wrong spot. And again, we can clean these up just a little bit on the grinder if we need to. I like to go ahead and grind everything anyway, because at least for me it seems like it gives it a little bit of a better overall finish. So we are just taking this piece down to the score line. This is kind of the hardest and weakest spot of this glass piece right there, that inside curve. So we're going to want to take care of that first, and then we can take care of this outside part. And even this, it puts a decent bit of pressure on the glass, so I'm going to do probably another few scores here, because I'm just trying to really make it as easy as possible for this glass to break off the way we want. So if I remove a little bit of that meat here, it'll give me a little bit more leverage to get closer to that template. There we go, perfect. So that's how I'll do it sometimes if I'm trying to be extra careful. Okay, now here's that really kind of harder piece that we were seeing earlier. So we're going to just really kind of lightly remove this. We did a few tears, and we're going to try to do it from this one. This is our last sort of step down to the inside of the curve. So far, so good. Pretty much got everything that we scored off. We can just grind the rest of that down. So that worked out pretty good. And then we're going to get this straight line. It's a little bit of an easier one to manage. So again, we're going to probably do another score right here to try to make this a little bit easier. It can, again, that's the weakest spot right there. So the more meat you have on there, the a little bit more force you need to break it. And there we go. So that worked out pretty good. So far, so good. So sometimes definitely the order in which you're separating the glass on the score line does make a significant difference. There we go. Here's another one. It's got kind of an inside curve here. And I'm going to go ahead and break these off, and then I'm going to do another few scores to step down a little closer to that inside curve. There we go. I think just one should do it for this one. There we go. Just removing it just enough to get down exactly where we want. Perfect. So now, see, I've got kind of a lot of meat here. I'm going to go ahead and remove that piece to make it a little bit easier for myself. There we go. then I have a little bit more leverage with the grazing pliers. And there you have it, another piece. Again, we've got another inside curve here. I'm going to go ahead and cut this down, and then I'm going to do one step inside of it. So I like to cut it flat, and then I like to do at least one more step into the curve. And then that'll just make it that much easier when it comes time. Just like that. And now this one's got a little bit too much on the outside here, makes it hard to grab it. And if you need to, wear some gloves for this step. You don't want to be cutting yourself. Been doing this a long time, so I'm really used to the edges of glass. So if you need to wear some gloves, it might not be a bad idea. And we've got a few more pieces here. I think the white glass was the vast majority of the pieces on this particular pattern. You know, the beagles, I think normally they have a white feet, white belly area, some white on their face and their tail and stuff like that. So it's going to be a fun project here. I like those dogs. They're a little bit loud, you know. They like to go woo woo woo. So that's pretty funny. I always like that about them. All right. And we're pretty much getting to our last pieces here. So I would say, really in summary, the white glass was the harder pieces that we ended up cutting here for this project. But that's all right. We got through that. No breaks in the wrong way. So we were fortunate with that one today. So this is our kind of pile of glass we need to go ahead and throw away. So we'll get our trash can, sweep all that off into there, and then it's time to get started with the grinding. And I like to use my little Gryphette grinder. It's just a tiny little grinder, fits well on my little workspace here. So we've done a lot of projects in this little workspace. So definitely very happy with the grinder. Of course, I have my handy dandy water bottle with a hole poked in the top. I can just squirt a little bit of water right onto the little sponge there. And that will keep the party going. So what I also like to do is put this in front of my foiling, so when I turn this on, all the splatter kind of just hits right there. I've got quite a bit of splatter all over the place over here. You kind of see it on the, you know, the corrugated tube there. Okay, let's see. So we're going to go ahead and get started with the grinding. So we're just going to grind all the way down to the template. And that will pretty much do what we need. So we got pretty close with the glass cutting, not perfect. Now what I like to do is go ahead and do all the grinding down to the template. And then we're going to do just one additional pass. And if sometimes, like in this spot, it's a little bit too sharp of a radius for that 1-inch diamond grit, 1-inch grinding bit. So I'll pick up the little 1/4 inch on top, and that one will get me the rest of the way I need. So this is pretty much good here, and then I'm going to go ahead and just do a quick pass around the entire thing. And that will do for our first piece. Now, after I do the grinding, I like to go ahead and place it into my cup. And that will just keep all that glass dust from getting too dry on there, and it's kind of a big pain. So we are going to continue on with our grinding here. There we go. Go ahead and set that into our little cup. Continue on. Keep that grinding wheel pretty saturated with water. Try to keep that glass dust from going in the air as much as we can. There we go. Take this off and go ahead and do one more pass here. I like to do the extra pass. It just kind of makes it fit just a little bit better. A little bit of peace of mind there. And I kind of get my head right over the grinding wheel so I can really see how much of that piece of glass is still protruding out from it on the edge. There we go, another piece. Do one more pass here. And I can kind of really see, you know, in case I left a little spot, a little rough spot or something when you take that pattern off. And then before you know it, you've got pretty much a perfect shaped pieces ready for foiling. There we have it. And this spot's a little bit small, a little bit of a tight radius for the 1-inch bit. Just so handy having that 1/4-inch bit right where you need it, whenever you need it. Just like that. Works out very nicely. There we go. Go ahead and get this out of there. Just kind of pushing this right up into that foiler. Into the grinder. There we go, into the bucket. to our little glass bath. Make sure we got enough water to keep all those pieces submerged. And this is one of those, that piece had a really thin edge right here, so it's a little bit harder to, it's easy to break that spot. So you want to just make sure to really take it easy on this piece. And we'll do one more pass. All right. There we go. Drop it into our glass bath here. Got about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and the 7th piece in my hand to go. Make sure it's all nice and locked down there. All right, we'll take this off, do one more pass. And we'll go ahead and shoot a little bit more water in there. Making some good progress today. Go ahead and push our glass right into that grinder. And of course, the better you cut the glass, the less grinding you'll have to do. So if you kind of focus on that, it'll make this stuff a little bit easier. There we go. And normally we don't take breaks during these live streams, but if you need to, by all means, take a little break. Get a drink of water, whatever. And you want to stay nice and patient. You don't want to be getting frustrated or anything like that. So if that's starting to happen, take a little break. It's not a big deal. There we go. I try to keep these projects small enough to where we can kind of take care of them in a single sitting. And about 2 hours is about normally what we try to hit here on these projects. Trying to have a decent balance of visual interest of the project and getting it done in that 2 hour window. Because if it gets to be much longer, it starts to be a little bit, like I want to take a break and all that. And if we're doing it live, like we do every Sunday, then, I don't want to be really dragging it out for too long. But, so far, of course, if you're not familiar, these live streams are a part of our Stained Glass Mastery community, where we have tons of free resources and all sorts of good stuff. Other artists that like to share their projects, ask questions, share advice. So it's a good place if you are sort of a beginner, or if you're a seasoned veteran wanting to join a community of like-minded artists. So I'll be sure to leave a link to that in the description in case you're interested in that. And we've got about 2 more pieces here. We're making pretty good progress so far. I'm going to go ahead and take this off of here. Just do a little... Cut that one pretty much right on. So we'll just go ahead and do that final pass. Drop it into the bath. There we go. Got that all done. So that's all of our pieces to be grinded here. Now we are going to go ahead and clean them all up out of the bath here. And what I like to do is use this microfiber cloth. Seems to really do a good job getting all that glass debris off. So we just take it and we are going to kind of clean it, especially on the edges where we did all the grinding, and that's where the foil is going to adhere to. And we're going to go ahead and start to place them onto our pattern because we want to make sure that they're going to fit properly. We don't want to have any issues or surprises or anything like that. We just want to make sure everything's going to fit really nicely here. So if we have to, we can make some additional adjustments to make sure everything's going to work out just the way we want. There we go. It's a little bit looking at that, I was thinking something doesn't quite seem right here. Let's see. So we're going to get all of this all removed here. Let's see here. What's going on with this? There we go. Perfect spot. Kind of see the little leg and the sort of the underbelly of that big. Oh, I'm seeing now that you're not even able to see this. Let me get this a little bit of a better spot. There we go. Now you can see it good. Pretty good. Here, I'll put it like this too so you can see it better. All right. Very good so far. All right. These are really sweet dogs, these beagles. There we go, drop that right there. Big old ear. Got some big ears. And I think we're going to patina this black for today. There we go. And right here, this is sort of the back of the beagle. Oops, is that the right? Oh, no, like this. There we go. There we are. Make sure everything is nice and clean here. Take your time on this step. You don't want to be rushing it and make a big mistake. It'll kind of cost you later if you do something like that. So just do your best not to do that. Really just take your time, make sure everything's nice and clean. All right. Go ahead and get our headpiece right here. All right. Kind of have their noses raised a lot because they like to do the whole, like to bark up into the air like that. So they're kind of funny dogs like that. So again, just cleaning these up really nicely. All the edges, all the faces. Get them completely prepped. And we got these last 3 pieces here. Then it's ready to start foiling everything. And kind of while you're doing the foiling, you're going to want to just keep an eye on all of the pieces. Make sure everything is pretty nicely, cleaned up. And that way everything will adhere very nicely. Got this little back foot there. And our last foot right here. And so far everything looks to be pretty much fitting the way we are expecting. So I think we are clear to go ahead and move on to the foiling at this point. So we're going to go ahead and get out our Magnafoiler. And by all means, if you don't have the Magnafoiler, you can do it by hand. That will work too. So it's a pretty simple process here. I'm going to go ahead and slide them all off the pattern. And then we're going to go ahead and get to all the foiling here. So you just insert it into the little foiler here, and then kind of just run it through, kind of rotating it as it moves through the foiler. And then when you get back to the start and stop point, you just pull it out. Make sure you have enough to overlap it. And I like to try to overlap it about 1/4 inch. And I find that works pretty well. So there we have it. Got our first piece pretty much foiled on. We're going to do the burnishing later. I like to kind of take the piece, if it's got a pretty gnarly curve like this, and with the little fid, I like to just kind of run it back and forth, gradually pushing it down. And you see how I have no tears right there. So that worked out really well. Go ahead and do it on the other side too. You want to try your best to avoid getting any little tears as much as you can. Sometimes it just happens, but if you can't avoid it, you want to. And we were able to avoid it there with that technique. And there we have it. So we'll go ahead and put this down onto our pattern because, oh, you know what? Actually, we're going to have to still burnish them. So we're just going to leave them off to the side for now. And then we'll get to burnishing everything all at the same time. So we'll insert it into our foiler, run it through, kind of folding over at the starting point. And then we can kind of push it back through when we go to overlap it. Just like that. Pull this out, cut it down. Works really well. And then again, we've got another curve like this, so we're going to do the Fiddlestick Fid. This is a Creator's product. Same with the Magnafoiler here. Oops, almost dropped my piece there. Got to kind of really hold on to it good. There we go. There you have it. Nicely foiled both sides, centers it up nicely. And then we're going to go ahead and burnish that in just a few moments. Got a little tiny piece here. Sometimes the tiny pieces don't really work that well. So I just use it mostly as a dispenser and hand foil it. And that seems to work out pretty well for me. There we have it. And we are using a black backing today, black backed foil. And then we're going to go ahead and we'll continue on here. So we are making some pretty good progress here. And this is that really kind of delicate piece that we were talking about. Get this all done really nicely. Okay. All right. Got that one all foiled up. Got another one of these smaller pieces here, but I think it'll still work. Just fold that down. All right, got that. And then let me see here. Need to find something here really quickly. Give me just a second. Okay, sorry about that. I need to just find something here really quickly. Okay, so we'll continue on here with our magnifoiler. If it ever pops out, you can just open it back up and reinsert it into that groove that kind of centers it on that foil. And then slowly but surely, just pushing it through. Back to that start-stop point. Overlap it, pull it out, and cut it down. Whenever they're big enough, you can pretty easily overlap them. It's when they're kind of small, they start to kind of rub up against the other foil, and it's a little bit difficult to do. But if the pieces are bigger, it's really easy. There we go. Again, just gradually folding it over. And even with this technique, we did get a small little rip there. After we do the burnishing, we'll go back and fix that, because you do want to fix them. It'll kind of show through to the solder, and you want to avoid that if possible. Okay. Alrighty. And we're making pretty good progress here. Looks like we've got about, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 more pieces. So not bad, not bad at all. Okay. Go ahead and fold over that starting point. Pull it out. We can cut it down. Nice healthy overlap there. There we go. And ever since I started putting the pieces into that little glass bath, right after grinding, it's been so much easier to clean them, and I've noticed a little bit better results as far as the edges. They're just a little bit cleaner. And using that microfiber cloth has worked out really well also. So I do recommend doing that too. May seem like a small thing, but it does make a difference. Instead of just the old t-shirts. Seems to just pick up that debris just a little bit better for whatever reason. I don't know all the science behind why it would be superior, but I'm sure there's a reason. Instead of just taking my word for it. Again, this is one of those places I would use the little fiddle stick, kind of just gradually stretch it out and fold it down right onto the face of that glass, just like that. There you have it. And we'll move this out. Get it folded over the edge right smack center. Perfect, just like that. And fold it over. And Bobby uses a pre-wash also. What do you mean by a pre-wash? Just wondering what that is. Is that like after you've dried it off, it gets another something added to it? Oops, another one of these curves here when I use a fiddle stick. Try to avoid tearing that foil if I can. Oh, Bobby said that the small bucket by the grinder like I do. Okay, gotcha. Yeah, I didn't know there was a name for it. I just call it a glass bath. But yeah, it works really good. And Mary mentioned the microfibers maybe give more friction. Something, I don't know what it is. It picks up more debris, I think. Especially when that debris, it's kind of harder for it to latch onto the glass if it never gets really dry and crusty. So I like that a lot. There we go. Fold this thing over. There we have it. And our last piece here. And Mary asked if I remove the vinyl before putting it in the water. I do. I do remove it before putting it in the water. So I'll make sure as soon as the grinder is done, the grinding is done, then I'll go ahead and remove that template. But I'll keep it on right up until that point because I want to use it as that grinding template. And then as soon as that grinding's done, take it off and drop it in the bucket. All right. So we pretty much got most of the foiling done here. I'm going to go ahead and get it out of the way. We'll start to burnish and keep the foil out just in case we have any little issues. Okay. So now we can get to the burnishing. Another important step here. So I like to burnish the edges first. Try to push out any air that might get trapped in there. And then we can do the face kind of in towards the center. That'll keep it from getting knocked off if you do center out. And we're just going to try to really make that foil conform to all the texture of the glass. In this case, our glasses are very smooth, which is a lot easier to foil. So that's helpful. So we're just going to kind of very lightly, well, not too lightly, with a little bit of force, kind of careful force, not trying to destroy the glass here. And you can see if we move over here to the close camera, kind of see we've got a little bit of a non-smooth transition here. We're going to just cut that down. Maybe cut it down a little bit more, make it a little bit smoother. And before you know it, we got it. So that worked out well. Okay, now that they are burnished, I'm going to go ahead and start putting them back onto our pattern over here. So again, making sure to put it in the right configuration. And then we're going to have to check how well everything fits. And I think this is the right way. Let's just make sure. Yes, it is. All right. And this FID, it's called the Fiddlestick, came with the Magnafoiler. I found that it works really well. And so we are selling the Magnafoilers now. I like them. They work pretty good. I think that the only downfall is with these smaller pieces, and it is a bit of an investment. I think it cost $100-something. But I do think that it speeds it up quite a bit. So we'll just really get that all burnished down. I think I did this side already. Do it one more time just in case. Okay. Now this is our brown piece somewhere up there. Is it like that? Yeah, I think it's like that. So again, doing the edges first. Make sure everything's nicely on there. And then we'll do the face kind of towards the middle. A slight bias towards the middle. And we'll try to get all those air bubbles out much as we can. Don't do it too hard or else you're going to end up doing a lot of repairs because you'll split that foil. Oops. There we go. There we have it. kind of a funky shaped piece. So again, just a step that takes some time. It's not too bad though. There we go. Okay, this one is the underbelly. Let's see, I think I'm going to do a little sweep off here. Getting a little bit of debris down here. Glass debris. Trying to keep my hands free of it if I can. Sometimes it's impossible, but sometimes just being a little bit more careful would have avoided a few pokes and prods of glass. So a pretty simple step, just takes some time. Got to kind of finesse it a little bit, try not to damage that foil. It's kind of a delicate little material, so you kind of have to just gradually and slowly press it into that glass, get it to really hold well. Let's see, where do you go? You're in the tail. Oops, I think I might have got poked. Something. There we go. Oops, I don't know how that one got out of the way. There we go. And got just about all of the brown and the two browns. Now we need to do the white pieces. Just got mostly white pieces left after this one. So we are coming along. There we go. Let's see. This goes right here. There we go. The big ear. And we've got all these little white pieces, all the little appendages here and there. Kind of funny. It's kind of like whenever we do our leaded glass windows, And we've got all the hands and faces on the paint table. And it's just looks like appendages everywhere. It's kind of funny. Just hands and faces and feet and all sorts of stuff. And right here, I'm going to go ahead and cut this down. There we have it. And then, of course, after this step will be the soldering. And we are making pretty good progress here today. And whenever you have these curves that sort of curl around, kind of like a circle, the foil does get a little bit scrunched up there, so you're going to have to kind of pay a little bit of extra attention to those spots. Make sure that everything is down really nicely and burnished kind of flush, because it tends to kind of crinkle up in that spot. I believe this is how this goes. Yes, it is. And this is a really delicate piece. Want to be careful burnishing. Don't want to get this far and then you get a little crack. So just take your time there. There we go. Got these tiny little feet pieces. Kind of hard to work with sometimes. But again, patience is the name of the game here. And this is another kind of weak piece right there at the inside of that curve. Just gonna carefully, but a little bit of force. Oops, and we got a little piece of glass right here waiting for us. Seems like no matter how many times you sweep, you're still gonna have something waiting for you somewhere. Oops. See if we can get that to stick. All right. Looking pretty good. And we've got 2 more pieces here. And especially on those faces, really crinkles up on these curves like this. There we go. Now where do you go? Something like this. There we go. And our last piece here, and then it's time to solder. I think I'm going to go ahead and turn that iron on, and we are going to move over there we go. Get all this fully burnished, and then we're going to go ahead and move on to the soldering. It's our last piece here. There you have it. So we'll go ahead and set that on our pattern. We're going to go ahead and make sure everything is fitting where we want it. And it is like putting together a puzzle. Everything's got to fit together just right. Make sure everything looks like a nice smooth transition from one piece to another. Not too many gaps if we can avoid it. Try to get everything really well done here. We'll take a quick look at how everything's fitting. And it looks pretty good. So I think that we're going to probably put the hook probably right here on the back. And so we're going to go ahead and leave this just exactly like this. I'll go ahead and move it like this so you can see it a little bit better. I'm going to grab I like to wear the blue nitrile gloves. And then I'm going to put a heat-resistant glove on top of my left hand. That's the one I kind of manipulate the actual stained glass, which is what gets really hot from the iron and the soldering. So we're going to go ahead and get our fume extractor out. Move this to the right spot here. We're going to kind of move this a little bit closer to it, like that. Go ahead and get our foil out. I'm sorry, our flux. We are pretty much done with the foil. I got that kind of off here to the side. Go ahead and get my glove on. And looks like we've got enough flux in here to finish this little panel. We're just going to kind of very lightly tap the joints, because any little movement, any little touching is moving our pieces around. So we want to secure this thing down nicely by tacking it all together. Oops, see, just like that. So that was my bad. I'm going to go ahead and move everything back kind of to where it was. And I find that having the big gloves on makes it a little bit harder to move everything around. So I might have to take this glove off. We'll see. See how far we can get by just kind of manipulating it with our little brush here. Oops, a little bit too hard. It's a little bit tricky. Little by little, you get it right where you want it. There we go. Okay. So we've pretty much got it right where we want it. We're not going to touch it. We're going to get our iron out. We're going to check to see if it is ready. Ooh, it is getting, it's pretty much there. So we are going to drip a little bit of solder on there, just like that. Oops, kind of dripped into a random spot. Just putting it exactly where we want it to go. Little legs, got the tail over here. I'm gonna move this tail piece just a little bit. I think that will do. I don't think I got any flex right here on this spot. See if that's enough right there. Just put a little tiny bit. Oops. We're gonna probably want to drop a little bit of extra on there. Okay, I think that we pretty much got this thing all tacked together. We can kind of remove it from our little pattern here. Get off of there. There we go, just like that. And we'll go ahead and get this all flexed up. There we go. Now we can go through, get this thing all soldered nicely. And I like to go ahead and tin all of the perimeters, so that way when we go to edge bead, it's going to have a little bit of a good foundation to get started with that edge bead. Because you kind of want it to have a nice rounded look. If you get a lot of junk into your iron tip like this, let's see, we can grab our little wire brush. Just try to brush all that junk away. And then it looks brand new again. And we're getting pretty low on our little piece of solder here. I'm gonna have to grab the roll. I always try to use every last bit of it, as much as I possibly can. Just like that. And now we can move on to our new roll. Right here is the big old ear. And we'll go ahead and tin all the perimeter. There we go. And we're going to go back and touch everything up here in a little bit. So now we're going to go to the back side. Go ahead and get this all flexed and soldered. And at the same time we're doing this back side, we're going to go ahead and take care of that little hook. We're going to put it right there where that droplet of solder is hanging out at. So we're going to really get this on there kind of heavily. We want this to be a nice kind of finished bead on this side. Sometimes I like to just use the corner of the iron, and that can kind of be the point of contact. Keeps it kind of neat, controlled. Get a nice little bead there. And we're going to make sure to tin all the edges. There we go. Try to smooth out any sort of rougher looking areas. And sometimes the more you mess with it, the worse it gets. So just kind of keep that in mind. And sometimes it's just too hot to work on. Like the solder is heated up, the glass is heated up. You might need to let it cool for a few minutes if you're having a hard time. Hey, Ella, thanks for joining us. And this is our beagle. This is the back side. Here's our front side. And so far, so good. There we go. And now we are ready to go ahead and do some edge beading here. So I like to kind of hold it up with my gloved hand. Set the solder up to where I can kind of grab it with the iron. And just grab a little bit at a time. And just kind of tap it through. And you want to get a pretty good amount. Again, we want it to look pretty rounded here. We don't want it to be, really flat. We want it to look pretty rounded. And it's actually pretty hot even through this glove, but it's doing the job. I can feel that heat a little bit through the glove, but it's not so bad that I cannot hold it. So that's good. So just use your best judgment on that one. And so we're just getting that edge nice and rounded over, trying to get it nice and smooth, trying to marry it up with that tinned edge on the face much as we can. And we're just working our way all the way around. think this is our last side here. Just taking it slow. Making sure it looks nice and smooth, rounded. And of course that there is no bare foil exposed. I believe this is where we started. All right, so this is our backside. Looks pretty good. We're gonna go ahead and let's remove some of this stuff so we can have a nice flat surface. And let's see here. Ella asked if the tin edge should be flat or should have a little rounded bead on it also. I try to do a little bit more rounded. I think it's a little bit stronger, and I think it looks a little bit better. You know, it's all really preference, but I think a little bit rounded is a little bit better. Oh, I see. You're talking about the face. Well, if you can get it round, it's best, but it's kind of hard in my experience to get it rounded because it sort of just runs off the edge. So if you can manage it, I would say it's best to do that. But if it's flat, I would say it's not the end of the world, especially for these really tiny pieces. And when you get into like a bigger piece, you'll normally end up putting some sort of channel around it, lead or zinc channel. So I think that for these projects, a flat is okay. Now we're going to put a little loop on here. Let's get our wire out. And let's see, I think we're gonna want it right here, kind of smack in the middle. So as usual, make a little loop. And then we're just going to turn it. And make a nice little braided sort of cable. We're going to cut that down. Yeah, that's probably good enough. And then we're probably going to, yeah, just put it right there into that bead. So what we're going to do is grab our grosures because this thing will get super hot quickly. So what we're going to do, put it into our grosures, hit it with a little bit of that flux, and we are going to hold it right in the right spot and submerge it right into that solder. So we'll grab the iron and just start heating that wire up, and it will in turn heat up that little there we go, that little bead of solder. It'll just submerge right into it, just like that. And then we're going to go back and just touch it up, try to make it look smooth and rounded. Even though it's the backside, we still want it to look as good as we can. So just kind of drip some solder on there. There you go. So now we've got our little hook here. We are going to want to touch up the front. And I'm going to do is grab my little wire brush, try to get off all this debris. Have some little splatter marks and little solder pieces everywhere. Okay, so that's pretty good. So now we're just going to go through and try to really get this thing all cleaned up. This is kind of our final touch up here. If you want to, you can go over all the runs again. Try to get them to look really nice and rounded. And that's pretty much good right there. So now we are going to go ahead and turn off our iron, reminding myself to do that, and grab our patina because it is time to apply our patina. Pretty much here at the end of the project. And I hope that if you are new, you learned something, and otherwise I hope that you enjoyed it today. If you're not familiar, this is a part of our Stained Glass Mastery community where we have tons of free resources and a community of other stained glass artists that you can interact with and share projects, ask questions. So it's a good place to be if you are into stained glass. And so again, right here towards the end of our Beagle project, I got a little spot right here I need to touch up. There we go. Okay. And I like to kind of really put this stuff on pretty heavily. See it, the solder really takes that patina nicely. Really darkens everything up. All right, looks really good. Go ahead and do a coat onto the backside too. And I like to try to get all of the edges also. I think it looks a little bit better if you have all those edges. Every spot that's got some solder. I like to try to get it patinaed nicely. But hey, everybody, that's pretty much it for today. Here is our week 2 project. I really enjoyed doing this one with you guys. So again, thank you all so much for watching. Here is our Beagle here, a Beauregard. Hey, everyone, thank you so much for watching. My name's Adrian. We will see you next week for the week number 3 of the August Stained Glass Kit. So thank you so much. See you next week.